sauerkraut, waterfall, olive, bow wow, call, tall pow, south side, outside, pow, outline, missile thought, fire bounce, higher pose, out now. I was outside, now my power, pow, now. Eyes wide, should've speak utterly, upside down, camera obscura, power down, scuba, mama in Cuba, my it sounds good now. Out and about, title bout, bow, how loud, high lie, Mutai, Aztec, forearm, NASDAQ, abstract, freckle rockin', chow down, hazmat to do so diametrically outbound. Matter of fact, pass that ginger pop in the cooler than the medulla of Rick the Ruler. Hula hooping with new bow downs from Nuba. That's that life of a king, got my crown now, feeling accomplished. Super looper, fresh chocolate, collectible conscious, young crunk in your town now. Via minor aircraft, snapping like a bear trap. Tijuana Air Max, chainmail gauntlet. Big Bertha earthquakes, 100 dB, 90 BPM, heavy hitting them triplets, 100-sided dice, rolling 79 twice. Get ready, we bringing the jazz back with the rhythm, we giving them sentiments to some Midwest liquid mission, tricky nicks and mixing, matching, scratching, rapping, action, Jackson making it happen, pap it, midi, patch it, maverick with a pinch of magic, casting master sentences, with a gang of wicked vixens listening close to us, flipping different widgets, mystic digits, coast to coast, pole to pole, folding time, golden time. Overload on.
There's this whole debate about the MAOA gene, which is like this gene that Africans have, like much. It's like a proclivity to violence that they have.
MAOA gene.
Yeah. I recommend people Google it and do their own research. It's like a big debate about whether or not. But basically, like what it is it's, if you think about kind of white European, Asian ancestors as we kind of moved out of Africa, like aggression and violence was kind of less necessary because we were like farmers and stuff.
But right? God, is that really true? App. And it says, okay, take me to this one. And the guy goes, okay. I goes, is that in a good neighborhood? He's like, oh, yeah. Guy barely speaks English. He takes us there. We get out and we're giggling. Ooh, we're going to see Planet of the Apes. We walk into Planet of the Apes. We walked into Africa, dude. We walked in the door and there was no white people. What are you?
Dad's black, mom's white. Standard issue, pretty much.
Powerful combination genetic-wise, right? You get the body of the black man, and then you get the mind of the white man all together in some strange combination. That doesn't, by the way, mean that black people don't have brains. It's a different brain. Right. Don't get me.
I'm making this video to talk about the most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly. There's a video that's out that's a compilation of me saying the N-word. It's a video that's made of clips taken out of context of me of 12 years of conversations on my podcast, and it's all smushed together, and it looks horrible, even to me. Now, I know that to most people, there's no context where a white person is ever allowed to say that word, never mind publicly on a podcast. And I agree with that now. I haven't said it in years, but for a long time, when I would bring that word up, like if it would come up in conversation, instead of saying the N-word, I would just say the word. I never used it to be racist because I'm not racist, but whenever you're in a situation where you have to say, I'm not racist, you f***ed up. And I clearly have f***ed up.
Joe Rogan is now apologizing after videos resurfaced of him using the N-word multiple times on his podcast, Patriot Takes, which put the video together as an organization that aims to expose extremism on the far right. The video is an edited compilation of different podcast episodes, and we have to warn you, this is very disturbing to hear.
The
thing.
Yeah, saying the word
You've already said is just like saying she's calling you a like this boy that he's a and starts calling them there should be a word like especially like the word that's our about he says guy and then starts saying allowed to use the word out the word see he couldn't say
just unbelievable.
Boom, what's up TTM Academy? This is DJ Radar. Please like and subscribe if you choose. Alright, so today is, this lecture is about the fourth dimension as it relates to Joe Rogan actually. fourth dimension. Really the question of today's lecture is, why don't they teach kids about the fourth dimension? Why don't they teach kids that they can just move their hand like this? And the trail that you saw, if you saw more than one hand, that's the fourth dimension. Very, very simple concept. You know, when you go into Eastern, a lot of, like Hindu art, things like that, you'll see a number of hands, even within dance routines. They'll mimic it using trails. And, you know, trails are an important part of DJing culture as far as juggling and the funk and, you know, backspinning and dropping like a shortcut pattern, which is all about delays and stuff like that. So, you know, delays are a big part of turntablism, but delays also represent the fourth dimension. Now, the reason why today's lecture is about the fourth dimension, because we're looking at the fourth dimension as it relates to Joe Rogan and him getting caught, right? Because a lot of times, you know, cretins and people with, dropping venom on the low use time to confuse people. So what they'll do is, you know, they do a bunch of things. They'll do 1,000 different things, and there's 1,000 different articles, and all those articles are disjointed. They're not all linked up. So somebody linked up all the N-words, and, you know, it comes down to, you can see that he likes saying it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm saying the N-word because I know about the algorithms. But, you know, the fact that they give him freedom like that, it just shows where Spotify is coming from. And we know that Spotify's, promoting, stealing, money from artists and, giving it to people like Joe Rogan. So a lot of people are leaving, and that makes sense. But the thing is, with Spotify, if you remember Happy, that song with Pharrell, I think he got like $2,500 for that song being like the #1 song and people playing it nonstop. He got like $2,500 that year or something for it, So people are getting money. I mean, people are getting nothing. You know what I'm saying? Even the big artists, So they're trying to make it like it's a vax issue, but really they've been wanting to leave Spotify. And it's not even about the jab. It's totally about the fact that Spotify is shady. But then they're trying to, finagle the press. And that's what takes it back to the fourth dimension. Press, history, that's all fourth dimension. And what maybe a couple of years ago, I realized when people say, oh, he's a hotep, she's a hotep, hotep means that you actually care about history. Maybe you're debating about history, maybe you're teaching history, maybe you're interested in wearing, outfits that are based on historical stuff, and they'd be like, oh, okay, that's hotep, when you care about your own history. So you got to be careful. Anybody that's telling you to not care about your own history, anybody telling you to forget history, they're telling you like, hey, they want you to act like an animal, right? Animals or children, right? Because, children and animals generally aren't, making their decisions based on, 10 years of research or their own studies or, most of the time, things are fight or flight, right? And that's how they want people to live, in that type of state, fight or flight. So, Joe Rogan, if you put him on the spectrum of, people would say like, oh, he's totally liberal, totally progressive. But you see that even the liberal progressive people, they got their own secret codes, their own cryptography. And somebody decrypted the Joe Rogan N-word code. You know what I'm saying? He had his little treats he's been laying out through all his lectures, and you have to be a real head to know where they are. And somebody that was a real head was like, yo, I know where a bunch of them are, and now Spotify, first Spotify erased 70 of his lectures. Now they erased like over 100, and because people talk about cancel culture, this and that. But, cancel culture is a good thing. Cancel culture is a Black American culture thing, like it's called the Civil Rights Movement. And that's called civilizing cretins. And that's what is happening to, Joe Rogan. So shout out to General Seti for dropping that recent lecture on, Joe Rogan as it relates to, his cretin, Neanderthal kind of behavior, right? So, we're schooling cats, Now, back to Joe Rogan, so as far as the fourth dimension, they try to keep that from, kids in the hood. They try to keep that from black people. They don't want to teach them about the fourth dimension. They're like, oh, you got to learn about that in college, right? Or you got to take quantum mechanics to learn about the fourth dimension. You can teach the fourth dimension to kids in kindergarten, in preschool. All you got to do is wave your hand and then say, hey, that's the fourth dimension. You see how it looks like you have more than one hand, right? Kids can see it. Everybody sees trails, but they don't want you seeing the trails. They don't want you realizing that your emotion and that your body's, made out of, is basically light encapsulated in magnetism. You know what I'm saying? Those are the only two real things, is the light and the magnetism. The magnetism, can tweak the different shapes in different ways to there's all different types of magnetism. You know what I'm saying? Weak force, strong force, electromagnetism, gravity, all different types of magnetic forces, right? And, they want you to think that that's like, oh, that's awesome, Isaac Newton invented that, Sir Isaac Newton, they want you to think all that. So that stems to, Joe Rogan talking about, remember Joe Rogan was talking about like this guy that was mixed on his show, mixed pure African and then mixed Homo sapien Neanderthals hybrid, right? So there's a mixed guy on Joe Rogan's show, and he was saying you got the best of both worlds. You got the black body, and you got the Euro diaspora dome. I'm gonna start to cryptify my words more, just for these algorithms, because we're gonna be exposing these anti melanin algorithms in the future. We've done it in the past, but I got some very interesting lectures coming up, especially regarding education and how they're censoring a lot of stuff. They don't want to show black kids in positive lights, but so if you take it to the educational system at schools, it's like you could bring up the fourth dimension at any point in geometry. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be like, oh, non-Euclidean or there's some weird thing. The second they show you a square, you know how to make a square, you know how to make a cube, you can show them how to make a hypercube. You know what I'm saying? That's all a hypercube is. A hypercube is only for people that don't know what the fourth dimension is, because obviously they banned it from schools. So this is basically a lecture on why the fourth dimension is banned from schools and how Joe Rogan got captured by it. And when I say capture, I mean like Ghostbusters, as far as, the civil rights movement, also known as cancel culture, also known as, black Americans capturing people in our proton packs. You know what I'm saying? You see Aquafina just took her Twitter down. You know what I'm saying? Like we're coming for people. They can't stop Black Twitter. Black Twitter is almost like a blockchain. It's almost like its own living entity that's really bringing history back. Bringing back old threads, old snapshots. Like all old Chrissy Teigen stuff. Crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? If you look at all the old Chrissy Teigen posts, that stuff is horrible, disgusting. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if anybody would let their kids around Chrissy Teigen. But as far as Joe Rogan, so he was saying, the best of both worlds, going off that whole notion, that the Eurocentric notion that that Europeans are intellectually more endowed than black folks. That Caucasian people are smarter. That's what Joe Rogan was basically saying by that quote. And then if you go to Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson was saying the same propaganda. This is the same Thomas Jefferson that had a GIMP in his back of his office. Sally Hemings, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? She's going to be appearing in my film Planet of the Tamahu. And this relates to that too. We're going to get to his Planet of the Apes, statement later. But so I was going to say, basically it's like animalistic people, they say devils are a lot of times lower than animals, like clever animals. You know what I'm saying? As far as like where they are, because it's like animals a lot of times are doing things for survival. You know what I'm saying? But devils are more like animals that are clever, right? As far as mythology. is concerned. But then when that mythology is, enacted in real life, and we see people like, Rogan, putting out that scientific racist stuff, because he just recently had a guy in his show that was talking about that this like nerdy cat was on his show and, trying to say, there's some differences. And even Joe Rogan was saying that, right? He said there's a difference in the black brain and the white brain, And as far as, Homo sapiens, we've proven through science and DNA and genetics and archaeology that, black people are the original Homo sapiens, without the Homo neanderthalis admixture, right? And, even BBC's shows that, so we know BBC's showing it, they can't hide it at that point. You know what I'm saying? Because, but back to Rogan, Rogan is an icon amongst many, post Alex Jones kind of people, just to a lot of different people, a lot of people are into Rogan. And I was never a listener to Rogan. I would just, see, click on controversies or something if it was in the news or something. But, and I've never been like a MMA or comedy head. But, I believe, comedians should be able to say what they want. But, just like what happened to the dude from Seinfeld, he got, what's his name? Michael, whatever his name is. He got, his career he got snuffed out as far as his career, and that's how these things happen, So somebody was able to triangulate different parts of history and ensnare Joe Rogan in his own words. And that's when it comes down to, a certain type of magic. You know what I'm saying? That, we know that in Hollywood, the people that have, the richest celebrities are all the ones that have done blackface, right? Not necessarily say the N-word, but all the ones that have done blackface. But you can see the ones that are also dropping M-bombs are also doing very, very well. The ones that mock black culture, like, the guy from Saturday Night Live, stating that Kardashian, whatever. I don't even know about these people's names. I don't even care to know their names. You know what I'm saying? But, on Rogan's show, he'll have, lectures where he has, physicists coming through and all these people. And I think that the average Rogan listener looks at him as kind of like an enlightened kind of stud, kind of, macho dude. And, now we're seeing that, all these, like enlightened so-called, people, they get off on saying the N-word, you know what I'm saying? They get off on being tricksters, you know what I'm saying? Because Joe Rogan was basically being a trickster because, he would try to cover his statements up, like when he was talking about to the mixed guy, he was like, best of both worlds, but I'm saying that the brains are different, but I'm not saying that they're, he was like implying he wasn't trying to be the R word. So I'm just going to say the R word when I'm talking about, prejudice and as it relates to devilishness and whatnot. But, so, just like you have the, kind of California New Age, Pleiadian, Nordic alien kind of power culture, that kind of overlaps with the Joe Rogan world too, more just the macho side of it, the masculine side, the guys that are dating those, Pleiadian, type women. You know what I'm saying? So, if you think about Rogan, Rogan was basically, coming for a whole group of people. He's basically, given millions and millions of dollars via Spotify in the same fashion that Berry Gordy was, taking money from the smaller artists on his label and putting it all in Diana Ross. That's what labels tend to do. So, they'll take a cash cow, right? Like, let's say everybody's bumping, Young Dolph. And, Young Dolph is generating Spotify millions. So Spotify gives a bunch of those millions to Joe Rogan so that they can up the birth rate. Because all this most racism stuff, like Francis Cress Welsing pointed out, is related to birth rate politics. And by that, I mean, her theory was that the reason that racism exists is due to the fact that the fear of genetic annihilation, right? The fear of everybody gets married, then everybody will become whoever the dominant gene is, right? And as far as here in the West, you know, if everybody mixed, you know, everybody will become black. And that scares a lot of people. So they create racism to divide people. So that's what Francis Cress Welsing theorized. And, you know, all this kind of holds true to Joe Rogan because, you know, sponsors put a lot of money into him because he's a big, strong guy. He's intellectual, you know, and he's kind of like their flagship prototype of like what they hope for as far as they're like a new American that's going to take all the land in the future and, you know, take the torch of the forefathers. You know what I'm saying? All the, you know, the forefathers that had gimps and all the pimp forefathers that they could, you know, carry on the tradition. You know what I'm saying? Make America great again, that type of a thing. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Rogan kind of fits into that archetype, right? Of, you know, he's diesel and he's, you know, witty, and, you know, that's ideally what they want. You know what I'm saying? As far as, you know, when they fund movies, you see Terminator, or not say Terminator, I mean Transformers. You see like Transformers and, you know, all that type of Americana stuff. Notice how these things, they're always out in the middle of nowhere. You know, it's always like some genius that lives in the country, you know, because they're targeting that country demographic because they know that they're the ones that are going to have the babies, because a lot of people in the cities can't, you know, afford the babies. A lot of my Caucasian friends that don't live in the South, you know, they're not having babies. But a lot of my black friends all over the world are having babies. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, so it's a negative European birth rate in the U.S. and the EU, Russia's population is going down. You know, people are fleeing Russia, you know, and so they're freaking out. So, you know, this is why you see, like, you know, them going hard with this whole Kim Kardashian and that guy on Saturday Night Live. You know, they really want to show, like, hey, you don't have to, you know, don't marry a Kanye, because that's, you know, Kanye is pretty smart in being able to capitalize off of that Francis Cress Welsing, you know, axiom. You know what I'm saying? He's being able to propel himself into higher stardom from that, because he knew if he was married to a sister, he wouldn't be as famous as he was. Be married to, you know, already scandalous type of family or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he was basically able to use America's fears to, you know, propel himself into even superstardom. He was already a star. So it's like, you know, Kanye being America's biggest fear of a black male, you know, marrying into white families and taking their land, that being their biggest fear, they need to balance that out with Joe Rogan's, and that's why they have to give him, you know, take Kanye's money from Spotify. You know, they're probably giving Kanye a $5,000 check. You know, they're probably giving India Arie a $200 a month check. You know what I'm saying? Because if they gave Pharrell $2,500 for Happy that first year, $2,500, you know, then that means they're giving everybody, you know, pennies. You know, I don't even, maybe my stuff is on there through Matt at a Calero Shock, but, you know, I hate Spotify because they, you know, lead you away from what you're trying to find. And then they also, you know, we're gonna do some Spotify algorithm analysis in the future too, because, you know, Spotify, what they'll do is they'll always route you to either a white artist, or they'll try to, you know, keep you to a black artist if you start in a black artist. But some black artists still route you to white people, which makes them more money in the future. So it's a lot of racist algorithms within their referencing. You know, it's like if you're in some like funk from the 70s and you're listening to P-Funk, and then maybe it recommends you and takes you to, you know, it'll take you from P-Funk, but then it might take you to Can, you know what I'm saying? And once it takes you to Can, right, and it takes you to Vitamin C, it'll be like, oh, you know, yeah, no, I'm just going to keep you in indie rock world, and I'm going to recommend you to, you know, Weezer, or, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, you know? it'll keep you in the white world, and then it'll stay white as far as, you know, the artist. Because people don't, you know, think about the actual artist when they see lists. Like when I see a whole list of artists, I can see the ethnic breakdown of the bands, you know what I'm saying? And like if you notice all these new charts that are coming out, they since my Matrix post there, all these people have been trying to intellectualize things, these genres and whatnot, a lot of these fictitious genres, and make these charts that are just mostly, you know, European artists when they're talking about rock or electronic music, all these different black genres, you know. So, you know, with Rogan, you know, he was actually bold enough to say, you know, he was, you know, relate black folks and Planet of the Apes, and he said he walked into some movie theater, it was like Africa, but he said the Planet of the Apes right before it. So, you know, he was talking about going into to see Planet of the Apes, you know what I'm saying? And we don't know if any of this is real or if it's a joke and it's a punchline, and he's playing with words, and he knows that, you know, where the line is, and he's always skating that line. So every time he said the N-word, it was always, you know, within a context, like, hey, you know, my friend, you know, she got robbed, you know, around the block, you know, last year by these guys, and they called her the N-word, but he wouldn't say the N-word. He would say the actual word. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I mean about the kind of Harry Potter kind of, you know, muggleization of, you know, people as far as colonialism. Because Harry Potter's a great example as far as how the colonizer mind works. You know, they have their high magic world where they, you know, live like kings, and they give each other free credit cards and all types of stuff, and you know, give each other great house appraisals and things like that, and then they deprecate everybody else with their magic. You know what I'm saying? A lot of magic is deprecation, and deprecation doesn't have to be overt. Like if you take a, you know, David Duke or somebody, so somebody like a Rogan, who's a likable guy, you know, this diesel kind of Superman archetype, you know, he kind of has that superhero kind of archetype for them as far as like a great white hope. And now you see he's getting shot down, right? And he's getting shot down by his own words, just like, you know, a lot of other, you know, people before him. But the thing is that, you know, most liberal people aren't being shot down, and we're going to see what happens. You know, you can see that, you know, this might just make him bigger. He might get bigger deals, you know what I'm saying, after this. But, you know, he's definitely not getting totally shot down, right? Because they're only just taking certain episodes, right? But if it was something and it was anti-Hebrew, and they had 70 episodes that had anti-Hebrew stuff in it, and people were saying the K word, you know, the anti-Hebrew K word, if they were saying that, they would pull the whole guy from Spotify. You know, so it shows that the caste system is real, and us black folks are at the bottom of the caste system. You know what I'm saying? And Rogan is a modern day, you know, one of those likable slave master traffickers. You know, because I don't say slave master anymore, I say traffickers. You know what I'm saying? And there's traffickers and there's homies of traffickers. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, what he was saying, you know, Nazi rhetoric, you know, what he was saying, you know, saying that, you know, the mind of the white man is superior to that of us black people. He's being totally racist, right? Because if like I was saying before, you know, Thomas Jefferson was like, nature's been less bountiful to blacks than the endowments of the mind, or something like that, right? And this is a dude that's on the quarter. That's why, or not the quarter, I'm sorry, the dude that's on the money. Right, that's why Trump was actually saying, like, yo, if we're going to be knocking down all these statues, you're going to have to take everybody off of all those bills, right? You know, and I'd rather have Trump on a quarter than somebody that had a black woman as a gimp. You know what I'm saying? Like Thomas Jefferson on bills and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? There's scale. It's a very, very important to recognize scale when you're talking about devilishness and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, as far as scale, as far as Joe Rogan, he's able to touch so many people, you know, it's beyond just problematic. It's just kind of, you know, more a symptomatic type of a thing where, he's just another fruit of, the white male industrial complex. And we know that Spotify supports the actual military industrial complex. We see that they gave him that 100 million because they're trying to solidify the Euro male monopoly industrial complex. You know what I'm saying? So if you think about it that way, taking, like we were talking about before with cash cows, like what Berry Gordy would do, you take the money from the artists that you're not trying to promote and put it into the artists that you're trying to promote. And that was, like the Supremes and Diana Ross. So he was taking everybody else's money, and even somebody had a hit, he would just take their money from their hit and put it into, like Diana Ross's, like Supreme's, marketing, you know what I'm saying? Or buying another house, you know what I'm saying, for to expand Motown, right? So as far as Spotify, we've seen them go, the stock spike up from the beginning, right? And we've seen them kind of take over the industry, and artists hate them, right? So being a musician now everything is for free these days, because of these types of companies, right? So, with Rogan coming down, he's just the first. It's never going to stop, because they're trying to get black folks behind this whole stop cancel culture thing. But cancel culture, like I was saying before, is the civil rights movement. They're just trying to rename it and reflip it, throw glitter on it, derail it, however they can control it, But cancel culture is actually, it's called humanity, and it's called black humanity, or I would say pure Homo sapien humanity, because it was black Americans, nobody else was marching with us, it was black Americans that got most people free, got women free, mostly around the world in modern times. In China, people are still oppressed. It's pretty crazy out there. And, with Rogan, it's an important thing to note that they, as far as conditioning and, Stockholm Syndrome is concerned, like I was saying before, him being like a model, kind of superhero build, kind of, new age cretin. And when I say new age, I'm going by the literal meaning of new age, like the Madame Blavatsky, Euro satanic stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about African, magic, or, shout out to all the, Nigerian witches and warlocks. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, all these Gardnerian fools, and, because, Rogan, we know that Rogan is a warlock. You know what I'm saying? And that's another level of the civil rights movement where we're in now. We're kind of in the warlock level where everybody's got access to all this information. They're finding out the spells. They're decoding the spells, different spellings of, different things that Europeans have been using to mentally, brainwash everybody, and visually do it through, commercials or media or multimedia, hypermedia, metamedia, multimedia, macromedia, right? Polymedia. But, yeah, so, basically, if you think about it, Rogan coming down is a very, very big thing for the corporations, because he was the, new icon, you know what I'm saying? And now he's forever going to be seen as, on some redneck stuff, which he is, you know what I'm saying? Like, because, it's the new age redneck. It's the California redneck. Because, I'm saying, in Cali, the rednecks know better. They know not to just drop M-bombs. You know what I'm saying? They know they're going to do like Little Dicky and drop it in context in the rap song. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of even relates to what I just was going through today. I was on a weird rap group. There's this thing called Weird Rap. And they were posting pictures of Die Antwoord, right? I'm sorry, they posted a music video of Die Antwoord. And, Die Antwoord's done B-Face in the past, painting their faces black and whatnot, and I had to call it out. And then people started coming at me on the forum, like, why are you calling this out? Why are you, just, let everybody live in peace and stuff like that, freedom of speech and whatnot like that. all right, yeah, Facebook was, I said freedom of speech, and Facebook was like, your connection's bad, even though I'm like 5 million wires. I'm outside. Yeah, so, so to wrap things up, as far as freedom of speech, I totally believe in, freedom of speech. Joe Rogan should be able to say what he wants, but, people should also have the, freedom to cancel people. And, cancel culture is a good thing, like I was saying, cancel culture is kind of like taming people doing beastly kind of things to other people, doing inhumane things, civil rights and cancel culture is upgrading humanity to become like their human origin, like Eve. My grandmother, my X chromosome is actually the actual Eve chromosome. Is actually, she's L1 haplogroup, straight out of the Bantu tribe. You know what I'm saying? She's from America. She's ancient American, but we spread everywhere, you know what I'm saying? And, so it's very interesting to hear, people like Rogan speak about intelligence and, things like that, because, he's clearly just, kind of like a new age truck driver, which is very common in California. Like I was saying before, that's why you never see me in Cali. I can't stand California a lot of times just because of that. The kind of yoga pants racists and the down with hip hop. They love hip hop like Rogan, but they like dropping the M-bombs, and they believe that the white man's smarter, like Rogan was basically saying. You know what I'm saying? So he's basically, saying an actual Nazi platform. And if you look to the Rogan show, he actually owns Nazi regalia, right? People aren't even bringing that up, that there was a show where, Rogan was saying that he actually owns, Nazi stuff, and things are what they are, they put everything in plain sight. But like I was saying before, you have to put the pieces together. And somebody did that. All he did was, somebody that was probably familiar with his episodes, they were able to weave everything together. So, a lot of people are always looking towards like the far future to make a change, but you can see a change can happen in an instant. And a lot of making a change is going through history and auditing it and collecting the data and weaving the data together, whether it's a graph or montage or whatever, and you put the data together, and then you can expose devils like a horror movie, like the shining light on them, dropping garlic. They hate data, they hate facts, they hate the truth. That's why they've been hiding all the books. I'm the first free person in my family to be able to go to any library I want. You know what I'm saying? Marry who I want. After years of Cretan rule. You know what I'm saying? But as that rule is diminishing, we see it in fruits like Rogan. So that's all I gotta say. Peace.